What should we eat before sleep, if anything, and when should we finish eating before we go to sleep?
Perfect.
So we talked about alcohol.
Yep.
Don't have too much. Don't get drunk, but you can have some wine if you want to, a couple hours before.
Yeah.
Don't drink too much water, because if you're going to wake up all the time, that's not good either.
Yeah.
So what about food?
So with food, there's contradicting information out there on this, you know, and so some of the best data shows that having a little bit of carbohydrates for your evening meal, for your dinner. So I'm not saying like eat a chocodile and then go to bed. I'm saying like, you know, if you have dinner at 7, 8 o'clock, having a little whack of carbohydrates, it helps to produce serotonin.
What are the best carbohydrates? Like sweet potato?
Well, you just mentioned it, sweet potato.
Cauliflower.
I mean, you know, vegetables are carbohydrate dominant foods, but you know, a little bit denser, you know, so we could say sweet potatoes, there's quinoa. When we get into these things, everybody's different. Okay, we could do a whole show talking on this. You know, there's like saponins in, you know, the quinoa that might be trouble for some people. It could be white rice, brown rice. It could be, you know, a little pasta. You know, it depends on the person. There's different kinds of pasta now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? There's like
cauliflower pasta.
They make pasta out of everything. You know?
Zucchini pasta.
Right, zucchini pasta. I think I saw like there's some coffee pasta. I don't know, man. I'm just kidding. That would be crazy though.
Banana pasta. Okay, so you can have a little bit of carbohydrates for your meal.
Fruit is another obviously dominant category of foods.
So what will that do for you?
So this causes a boost in serotonin when we have a little bit of carbohydrates. And so I know there's a big keto movement, which again is a wonderful framework. I use all these different frameworks in my nutrition practice as a consultant and as a nutritionist for, again, you know, almost 20 years now I've been in this field. But and I would base it on what the person needed, right? And it's always dependent on you and where you are right now, which might change. And so when we're getting in the conversation about keto, you could even have a certain percentage of carbohydrates on a keto. You might even just reserve those for your evening meal.
Really?
Right? And so beans could be another one, you know, depending on your digestion, how the beans are prepared. And so with that said, so serotonin, here's what's so cool about it. Serotonin is a precursor to making melatonin, right? So your body produces this kind of glorified sleep hormone. But man, when we talked earlier about how our body is lined up with nature, and how our body is secreting hormones on a pattern or cycles, melatonin is arguably the biggest controller of your body's metabolic or circadian rhythm, your circadian clock that's determining when you're producing all your hormones. Melatonin is not just about sleep, it's about regulating your whole body.
That's why there's so many supplements coming out, melatonin supplements that are doing so well, right?
Yeah, but you gotta be careful. Like that's straight up hormone therapy. You know what I mean? It's such a big regulator and controller. And, you know, just talking with the bosses in this space, you know, talking with Dr. Oz and Dr. Michael Bruce and all these guys, and we're having these conversations, we've seen clearly that folks that get dependent taking too high of a dose or taking melatonin too frequently, and here's what we thought. It was just a hypothesis. We thought that like some other type of, like taking exogenous testosterone, it might reduce your body's production. It doesn't reduce your body's production of melatonin, which we got to come back to where this is happening. But what it does is it depresses or shuts down your body's receptor sites for melatonin. So you still make it, but your cells' receptor sites can't engage and receive it and turn on the sleep-related processes and everything else. Problem, right? The great thing is that we do have access to these supplements, which is wonderful. I'm a big fan of using them in micro doses, and or even more so for me would be in spot cases, right? Just use them temporarily.
I'm deficient of something, B12 or whatever. It's like take this for a few months until you feel like you're caught up to speed.
Our sleep is so important with so many things, and so if you just need to get on track, but we just don't want to create a dependency. I love it for travel. Like if you're changing time zones, you want to get back on schedule. If you've had a couple rough nights of sleep, you know, maybe it's work or whatever, that's a great spot.
Or something, or whatever. Okay.
So melatonin has its place, but just to go back to where this is produced and why even taking a supplement you still continue to produce is that, and this is crazy because in my conventional university class, I was taught that your pineal gland produces melatonin. That's it. We now know today that there's 400 times more melatonin in your gut, in your belly, than in your brain. All right, so this microbiome, all this science and all of this discussion happening now, it really is the final frontier when we're talking about health. It's the interface between the outside world and us. You know, it's like what we're taking and putting in our bodies that's the most intimate experience in the world. And what's happening in your microbiome determine what becomes you and what is waste. You know, so that's a whole other conversation. But I just want people to know that we have to take care of our gut health. And we'll come back, we'll talk about that another time. So melatonin is tied to all these things. But with serotonin, with getting that little hit of carbohydrates can be helpful for producing serotonin and melatonin in the evening. Now, there was a study that was conducted and they found that when folks who were overweight ate close to bedtime, they had a greater secretion of cortisol. All right, so upwards of like over 50% greater cortisol secretion. All of us, by the way, produce a little bit of cortisol when we eat a meal because it's a big, like, all hands on deck experience. Because again, you're taking stuff from the outside world and putting it in you. Your body got to make sure that you're safe.
It's got to assimilate it. It's got to, check it all, make sure it doesn't throw it up
everything. Like, it's so much that happens. But if the folks who were overweight in this study, who consumed right before bed, had like over 50% higher secretion of cortisol. And the problem with that is that cortisol is kind of like the antithesis, or like has an inverse relationship with melatonin. So if cortisol is high, melatonin gets
So you're not
tanked.
sleeping well if you're eating right before bed.
Yeah. If you're overweight, obese, there's a higher propensity, and this is why there's some efficacy behind the statement of don't eat before bed. I don't like that statement as a blanket statement across the board. I don't. However, I do like to, looking at the research, it's saying, so just to be a little bit more mindful of that. But the problem is, like, number one, if you want to have something, have something.
Yeah.
It's more stressful trying not to have a snack if you want a snack. But also, part of the reason we might want to have a snack, at 12 o'clock at night is because we're up, Netflix and chilling, you know what I mean?
You should be asleep, buddy, right? You should be asleep.
So that's part of it, is just our practices and our culture around food and us not getting the nutrition we need. But it's our culture around food. And so it goes back to, like, you need to be sleeping. A sleepy brain is a hungry brain.
Really?
Right? A sleepy brain is a hungry brain.
So if you're tired, you're hungry?
Absolutely. I call it tungry.
You got hangry and tungry.
I think that just happened. Yes.
An angry brain is a hungry brain too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So why is that? Why is a sleepy brain hungry for food?
Oh man, this is so crazy. Listen to this. So there was a study that was conducted and they found that eating a meal, I'm sorry, let me get a drink. So sorry. Getting a little cotton mouth. Okay. So there was a study that was conducted and it was crazy in what happens with the brain and your nutrition and glucose reaching the brain when you're sleepy. And so across the board, even though we can use ketones for processes in the brain, we all know this, but there are certain parts of your brain that can only run on glucose. And so what the study found was that when folks were sleep deprived just one night, all right, so one night of total sleep deprivation was used in the study. So that's basically if we stayed up for 24 hours from now until the same time tomorrow, they found that there was a 12% reduction in glucose reaching the brain. All right, so this is literally your brain is starting to starve. And what happens when that happens, when we go back to that evolutionary perspective, it's danger, right? All hands on deck, cortisol response, adrenaline response. It is a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And they found specifically 14% of that carbohydrate reduction or glucose reduction reaching your brain cells was from the prefrontal cortex. So that's the most human part of your brain responsible for executive function, social control, distinguishing between right and wrong. So your ability to even choose whether or not to eat a food is dramatically reduced because your brain is like starving. And if you've ever had ice cream, if you've ever had cookies, if you've ever had a candy bar, your brain knows, hardwiring, I can get a dense source of glucose to shoot it back to my brain because I need it.
Yeah.
And so that's when we get into a battle of our biology versus our willpower. Your willpower is going to lose out eventually.
It's true.
Even for the toughest among us. You know what I'm saying? So, but why stack conditions against yourself? And we do that when we're sleep deprived. And so that's what I want people to know is that it's not, a lot of times these things aren't necessarily your fault when you're trying to battle it out and not eat a food. It's because our brains are usually, a tired brain is a hungry brain.
Wow. So what would you say is the optimal evening routine or the one that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Great question. It's evolved, you know what I mean? And that's what I want people to take away too, is that you can change. There's so much cool stuff that we can do today.
Yeah.
You got meditation, you got journaling, you got, you know, Tai Chi, you know what I'm saying? There's all this stuff you could do, you know, playing board games. There's that cool, have you played the Heads Up?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Right?
It's
you
great.
know? So you've got all these cool things you could do to hang out with your friends, you know, spend time with your significant other. How do we fit it all in? Well, you don't have to do everything, or you can do each thing in a micro way. But so for me, my current evening routine is, number one, just kind of the hallmark thing for me is giving myself some tech-free time before I go to bed, before I lay my head down. At least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We all can do this. And Harvard researchers have confirmed, I talked about this, and I've pushed this in the culture like the last 5 years hard. So if people have heard this, you know where it came from, all right? I've been really working to get this out here. And we've got them right here, man. We got the new iPhone. It's got 3 cameras.
Sick, dude.
It's fun to play
It's amazing.
with, right? But this device is the greatest deterrent for our sleep quality today.
So
you
bad.
know? And so Harvard researchers confirmed that the light exposure, blue light specifically, and white light, that kind of shoot out from our devices that we can't really see if we're sitting here and there's got this light around us, this ambient light. But if you're in a dark room and you see that phone,
Right.
it's like emanating like this bluish alien light, right? And so what they found was that this light does in fact suppress your melatonin secretion and dramatically increases cortisol. And they got numbers on this. So what they found is that approximately every 30 minutes you're on your device at night, you suppress melatonin. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Every hour you're on your device at night, you suppress melatonin for 30 minutes.
Oh.
All right? Every hour you're on your device, you suppress melatonin for 30 minutes. So if you're on your device 3 hours, melatonin suppressed for 90 minutes.
Wow.
Right? And so again, even though you might be unconscious and go to bed and you're not aware anymore, you're not going through your sleep cycles efficiently. So that's what it's really about, is optimizing our sleep cycles.
Yeah.
And we do that with the way we live our lives. And so just to go back on that point with me, just
So you have
30
minutes at least, no phone.
Yeah, at least. Ideally, we want to see more like 60 minutes, you
60,
know, if possible.
90.
Yeah, I mean, then we're like,
That's
but
like
this,
ninja
we get
level.
into that place of like, what do I do though?
You read a book, you hang out with your friends, you go
Man,
to
but
bed.
Some people just aren't trying to hear that, man. You
so,
know what I mean?
So that's no phone and no TV?
Yeah.
So no, you can't watch your show or your movie, you can't.
Here's a couple of hacks, and I'm sure a
put the
lot of people know
glasses
this.
on,
You got the blue light blocking glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got blue light blocking apps for your phone. Like it's built into the iPhone now. You know, and folks who have an Android, they have like night shift. I'm sorry, what is it called? Twilight.
Yeah.
Is another thing. I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
You know,
So there's some things you can do.
Yeah, so there's things that you can do to kind of reduce that experience. And for many folks, and I know myself included, I definitely do feel like sometimes even it's a neuroassociation. Just putting the glasses on, I would get sleepy. You know what I'm
do,
saying?
yeah.
Just by
You start
putting the
to feel
glasses
it,
on.
you're like, okay,
yeah, chilling out.
Yeah.
Or we can also, dim the lights around us. Maybe even change some bulbs, a couple of bulbs in your house. Candlelight, that's sexy. You know what I'm saying? So you just change, and then we evolve with those kinds of lights in the evening, those tones, right? These kind of warmer colors. And so that's what I do. I give myself a 30-minute curfew, and I really love to just kind of take some time, hang out with my wife, we'll talk, I'll do some reading. This is when but we've got, it's a light dimmer.
Yeah.
Light's a little bit dimmer. I'll do at least probably 10 minutes of reading, 20 minutes sometimes, if we're not, spending some time together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have that. And then for me, I love if I get a chance to do a magnesium bath in the evening. So this is a big one, man. So magnesium has been found to be responsible for over 650 biochemical processes in the body. Many of them related to relaxation and sleep. All right, so magnesium is needed to contraction and relaxation of your muscles. So the relaxation response of your muscles, like if somebody's cramping, that kind of thing, magnesium helps a lot.
Wow, okay.
All right. So, but also it relaxes your nervous system. So it helps to shift over from your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. Magnesium helps to shift you into the parasympathetic rest and digest part of your nervous system.
Yeah.
And so people have been doing this for centuries. Like Epsom salt baths has helped to improve sleep and relax sore muscles, help you to heal faster, all that stuff. It has some credence. Now we got some supercharged magnesium salts and
Really?
and-
So you do
and-
this almost
yeah.
every night?
No, a couple times a week. You know what I'm saying? But
Even once a week could be good.
yeah, what I have also, I have the topical magnesium spray.
Wow.
So I use that almost every night. So I'll just like massage, rub that in. And that's another thing that you could do too. Get a massage. All right, if you can.
Before sleep?
From your significant other or self-massage. You know, there's even acupressure points. And I talk about this in Sleep Smarter because I'm very analytical in how I think. I'm like, you could like touch a point and, you know, but there is some evidence that this, you know, they did this in a clinic. I'm sorry, in a hospital. And so what they did was manipulate this acupressure point, and they saw higher levels of melatonin metabolites in their urine by manipulating this pressure point. So it's doing something with melatonin.
Right.
So, but with massage, you produce endorphins, serotonin, right? So this all helps with that relaxation response. I don't know anybody that's ever gotten a massage and like gotten up. It's like, I'm so ready to fight now. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You just want to chill for another few hours. Yeah.
That's it, man.
Okay.
You know? So if I can, you know, my wife, like I'll massage her feet, or if she wants to massage my feet, that's so great, man, by the way. Or I got like a little tennis ball and I'll just like put that on the floor and rub that around on my feet, you know, the bottom of my feet. So there's another couple things. And so some of these things are not as consistent. Consistent things for me is screen curfew, reading, time with my wife, and magnesium. Those are my things.
And no food at a certain time, probably, right?
Yeah, I don't even think about it because I'm nourished and I don't have a hungry brain. So if I eat, you know, we finish eating at, you know, 7 or 8, whatever it is, like I feel good. Like I don't need to jam any food before bed. But the other thing I do as I'm walking into the bedroom is I turn the thermostat down.
Make it cold.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before.
Yes.
And so
69.
yeah.
That's what I keep it at, man, every night.
Yeah,
It's so good.
It is, you know, and this goes back to that evolutionary process, evolutionary biology. We have a natural drop in our core body temperature at night, 1 to 2 degrees.
Yeah.
And what the theory is, because again, like a lot of stuff we don't know specifically why, but is that our body uses a lot of energy to try to keep our temperature up. So by bringing that down a little bit, more energy is being dispersed to do things like memory consolidation, like detoxification of your brain via the glymphatic system, like there's like a changing of the guard that happens in your gut microbiome. Like all this energy is needed to bring you back better, right? And so if your environment is too hot, no matter where you live on the planet, whether if it's like Chile or it's, Antarctica, it gets, well, that might not be a good example, but during the daytime and during the nighttime, the temperature is different.
Yeah.
The temperature goes down a little bit at night, no matter where you are. And so if you artificially keep it high, your body's gonna kind of be trying to fight to bring itself down. So help it a little bit. Today we do have access, a lot of us, to regulate our thermostat.
Yeah.
At least, you know, like during this time of year here in LA, like you can get down, you know, 50s and 60s, like you can just open a window, you know? And so, so that's what I do. I turn the thermostat down or turn the heat off if it's been on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that's your evening routine.
Yeah.
I love it, man. What else do we need to know about sleep? We've talked about sleep sanctuaries and making sure you have the snake plants and all these other things. Do you still do the snake plant?
I have not we just moved, so I haven't gotten my whole thing optimized,
sanctuary.
except like we got some blackout curtains because you know, when you came to my house, like we were out in the woods.
Yeah,
you know
it
what
was
I mean?
dark.
It was dark.
You don't need blackout.
Right?
You got.
It was like, you know, maybe a little moonlight, but that's our bodies. We evolved with that. You know, that's a natural spectrum of light, and the lux is so much less than what's beaming out of your telephone or the sun. But now, you know, we're like in a neighborhood, so I got some blackout curtains again. But something else that I think people would be interested in is still the buy-in. Like, why does this matter? Why should I be looking at optimizing my sleep for 2020?
Yes.
You know, like this is a new decade. This could be the best decade of your life.
But it's also with all these opportunities and work harder mentality and be more productive, you're going to get less sleep, less quality sleep if you have that mentality as well, right? If you're like, so many opportunities, it's a new decade, let's crush the decade. That type of thinking could make you hurtful in sleep, right?
When you said crush, I immediately thought of Gary Vee.
Of course.
And he's like the guy everybody sees, like, he's out there just dominating. His thing now that he's out talking about, he gets 7 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
I talked with him maybe 4 years ago. We're having dinner, and this is Beard Gary V.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did his little moment of beard.
Yeah.
And I was just like inquiring, like, hey man, so what's with your health practices? Like, you're trying to play the long game. You're talking about buying the jets. How you gonna do that if
you're dead?
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
dead.
if you're dead.
D-E-A-D, dead,
Yeah,
dead.
yeah, exactly.
So what he was like, he's hired a trainer
Yeah.
to travel with him because he knows himself to keep him accountable on that end, and he gets his sleep despite what people think, right? And so just keep that in mind. The people that you're looking at and the people that, even the ones that are saying, sleep is for suckers, I promise they're sleeping. I promise.
They gotta be.
You can't operate, and also they might not be sleeping enough and they're not reaching their full potential. You know what I mean? So be very careful about that, because what you want to do, you don't want to just execute. You want to be the very best version of yourself to get up and execute. You can accomplish so much more when you feel well.
I think I saw Steve Harvey talk about, he mentioned something. I think he said sleep is for those who are broke or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think he said something like that.
I don't know if that was Steve. It might have been him. Yeah. Was that him that said that?
He said this recently, or I saw a video came up about a month ago. He's like, sleep is for
broke people.
For broke people or something like that, where it's like, you got to work harder.
Yeah.
And then people, if you want to make money, right? You got to spend extra hours and things like that. But
yeah, again, like I know a lot of these people, man, who have these messages, and even, another really good friend of mine, and yours too, Eric Thomas, right? He's another person, out there. But he's shared this.
And he's like, I wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m.
But he goes to sleep early. Like we've been hanging out for a long time.
He's sleep like 8 p.m.
Right.
or something, right?
He's knocked out, all right? But he's getting up and grinding, right? When he's up, he's trouble. So his thing is get enough sleep, but don't sleep in. Don't oversleep. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's not don't sleep. That's killing yourself. And you're not showing up as the best you, as we kind of gone through today.
Is there too much sleep?
Absolutely, yeah. We can, and I know that many of us have experienced this where maybe we sleep longer than normal and we're tired. Like we're super tired when we get up and we're like tired for a while. And a big part of that is just kind of even how we're interrupting our sleep cycles, But that's a, really unique conversation.
What is the optimal amount of hours for most people who live busy lives, who are pushing the envelope on work, family, activities? They're doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
They're trying to fill it all on their plate, achieve their goals and do everything. What would be the optimal amount of hours of sleep for those types of people?
I'll tell you right now that 8 hours is not enough for some people. All right, for some people it's 6. For some people it's 7. For some people it's 9. It depends, man. It's the answer that nobody wants to hear because, these so-called experts are like giving people these cookie cutter answers like, you need to get 8 hours of sleep. I think that's wildly negligent to tell people that, because you can become neurotic about something that you don't even really need. What it really boils down to, if you're getting 8 hours of shitty sleep, for me, I liken sleep minutes to calories. Like today, most people are well aware that it's not just the quantity of calories, it's the quality of those calories. Yeah. For same thing, it's the quality of those sleep minutes, not just the quantity, right? So you can get like, if you're looking at, what did I mention earlier? A chocodile, right? Versus wild caught salmon or, Lewis's salad. Yeah. Is there a name of the salad?
I should call it
Lewis's
the Great Salad or something. Because it's a custom bowl. It's the greatness bowl.
Yes. The salad of greatness.
Yes.
So a chocodile versus the salad of greatness, it's going to have wildly different impact on what it does to your metabolism, right? And so the same thing with your sleep minutes. You can be getting like 8 hours of chocodile sleep because of your blue light exposure, because of you not tapping into thermal regulation, because you having issues with blood sugar regulation, and listing goes on and on and on, some of the things we talked about. Or you can get an incredible optimized version of that sleep that only takes you 6.5 hours, where you're going through your sleep cycles efficiently and you're waking up feeling like a beast, right? The answer is it depends. The quality of your sleep and who you are and what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because there are times in your life when you've had to sleep more,
Absolutely.
right? If you're like, somebody's training for whatever, your body just needs a little bit more sleep. Maybe you're under a lot of stress, whatever the case might be, it's gonna change. Now we have to honor our bodies. Obviously, I'm a big fan of routine because your body's always looking for routine, But when you're up, life is dynamic, like things are gonna happen. And so I allow myself to change my sleep schedule a little bit, and I try to stay within a nice framework. But if something's going on, like, and I know that I'm stressed, it's like, man, you know, like I really need to back off. I need to recover. I don't need to push it down more. And this also just comes with experience too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that I can wake up recovered and get back on my grind. You know what I mean? And so, but just a little quick thing that I wanna share with people, that's like another big buy-in point, is that our sleep quality affects our appearance, right? Specifically, you know, nobody's waking up like, you know what, I just want to be super ugly today. Like as ugly as possible. You know what I mean? I want to scare children. You know what I mean? And there was this really cool study that was done recently. So this was just in 2017. And the Swedish researchers, and what they did was they had study participants take a picture after a full night of good sleep. And then they had them take a picture after sleep depriving them, where they're getting about 5 to 6 hours of sleep for 2 days. All right, so they sleep deprive them for 2 days, take their picture again. There's a mixture of pictures that these raters, the people who are rating all the people's beauty, and what they did was they looked at all the different pictures, and this is looking at what's happening in our brains, just again through evolutionary biology. When we see people, we get feedback.
Yep.
And what the scientists were wanting to do was to find out, does sleep deprivation cause a hesitance to want to be around somebody?
Wow.
All right. And so what the raters found was that when people were sleep deprived, they were deemed to be less attractive. They were deemed to be less healthy. And they also decided, like, I would be less interested in socializing with this person. Okay.
Wow.
Just in 2 days of sleep deprivation. And another study by Swedish researchers found that just 5 days of sleep deprivation, you know, just getting less than 6 hours of sleep, led to 45% increase in fine lines and wrinkles in the face. It aged you very quickly. But the good news is it reverses, not as quickly.
It rebounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's called beauty sleep. Why don't we talk about this more?
It's true.
You know what I mean? It's called beauty
true.
sleep for a reason. There's real rejuvenative magic in this.
In sleeping.
You know what I mean? And so looking at how we feel about other people and how we're showing up in the world, like your sleep has a big impact on that.
And tell people about sleep debt. You mentioned this before. If you've gone 25 years of just horrible sleep, can you oversleep for 20 years?
25 years, that's a long time.
A few years, 5 years, 10 years, you know, if you've been bad in your 20s and you've been partying late nights and you're a promoter and you get horrible sleep every night, can you rebound and put more sleep in that bank debt and recover?
And the way that we think about sleep debt, it doesn't work like that. The good news is, again, this kind of goes back to the conversation about telomeres. Once we change our habits and our practices, you can do things to start to reverse that aging process in some aspects, right? By lengthening those telomeres, by doing good things for your body, which includes getting more sleep. So you burning the candle at both ends, or burning the telomeres at both ends, you can reverse that process.
Okay.
That's the good news.
That's good.
Now, in the context of sleep debt, so if you're just sleep deprived for, you know, just say you're going like months at a time, getting, you know, 4 whatever hours, your incidence of heart disease is skyrocketing, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, all this stuff is going up. Chances are you're not going to make it very far. Some people, even people listening, are like, well, I'm fine. You got to be careful about that. Now, that sleep debt is a lot to pay back. If it's like a day or two, maybe 3-4 days at the most, and you kind of catch up, you know, maybe on the weekend, that can be helpful. But it's still like you're not getting back as much as you're taking out, if that makes sense. So the best strategy is to get high quality, for the keywords, high quality sleep more consistently. And then if something happens where it throws you off, like, you know, you go out, whatever, you know, like you got an event for a couple of days, all good. But guess what? You're going to probably be pretty destroyed, and you're going to want to sleep more and recover.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? But if you're constantly dipping into that bank account, you can't readily pay it back as much as we think.
Got it, man. Dude, this is awesome stuff. And you cover a lot of this in your podcast, your book. Where can we find your podcast and listen to that?
Yeah, I mean, they're listening to this amazing podcast. They'll find my show. It's called The Model Health Show.
Yeah.
And I think we started like maybe 6, 7, 8 months after you.
Okay.
And so we've
I'm about to be 7 years end of January.
Yeah.
So you're like 6 years.
We're coming up in 6 years. Yep.
Wow.
And so what we do is we create master classes on specific subjects. So whether it's obviously sleep wellness or metabolism, fat burning, natural treatments for things like depression and diabetes. And then I really strive to bring on the very best people in the world in their respective fields of health and wellness. And so we do master classes where it's solo episodes with me, and we bring on the best people in the world.
It's amazing, man.
It's a really great time.
Yeah, it's a great show. I love it.
Thank you,
It's really powerful because you break down all the research that you're finding, and you kind of share people with all the science and the proof of these things.
Yeah.
Which I think is powerful. You're not just sharing ideas or thoughts. You're really digging in. So, and you've got some other projects that you're not talking about right now, but we'll have you come back on sometime and talk about those things. Talk about everything, man. So we'll have to, now that you're here in town, we'll have you come back on more.
Yeah.
Let's share the three truths, because I don't know if people probably didn't hear you 4 years ago, all my new audience members. So I don't even know if I asked you this last time.
I don't know, man.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
So imagine it's your last day on Earth, many years from now, and you've created everything you want to create. You've done all the research, the books, the podcasts, whatever it is, you've done it all.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, you got to take all of your work with you to the next world, heaven, wherever you go, right?
Yeah.
But you get to leave behind a piece of paper, and you can write down 3 things you know to be true about your whole life experience. Of all the lessons and truths that you know that you would want to share behind, what would you say are your 3 truths?
Well, what's coming up for me, the first thing is that, this might sound a little but love wins. That's what's coming up for me.
Yeah.
Love wins. For me, over these years, man, I really believe that our relationships are the most impactful thing on our health, on our success in life, on our ability to, problem solve and to just be happy, our happiness quotient. It's our relationships. Sleep is amazing, but our relationships affect our sleep. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So I think it's just a huge governing force, and love wins, and finding ways to not try to win, but to love more. So that would be one. I hope that makes sense.
Love wins.
Number 2 would be, wow, this is tough, man. Is self-care,
Yeah.
Make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can show up as the best version of yourself for the people that need you. There's a big culture today of, pushing yourself to the limit, sacrificing, this word sacrifice yourself so that you can do good for the people that you're trying to help, or, even do good for the world. But the word sacrifice is from a root meaning to make sacred, right? And so if we're making sacred the craft of taking care of oneself so that I can be the best version of myself, I don't really see it as a sacrifice. Like, if I'm getting to bed early, if I'm skipping out on the party a little bit early, it's not a sacrifice, it's a sacred practice for me so that I can be the best me possible. Sure. So make sure that you're focusing on self-care as you move into the future.
Yeah.
So that would be number 2. And number 3 would be to laugh as much as possible and have fun. Be with people who make you laugh, cultivate humor. I came from a place where there was a lot of, it was crazy, man. Like, people from where I'm from, you can have, post-traumatic stress syndrome. You don't even realize it. The sirens, the gunshots, the violence. When you go outside, you don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? It could be a nice day, everybody's out playing, shooting hoops on the crate, you know what I mean? Or, it could be a drive-by, and you got a drug dealer right next door. And, those are my idols, you know what I mean? And coming from that environment, and I think part of the reason that we made it out of those circumstances and did it somewhat gracefully is that we had laughter. We still had laughter in our household.
Yeah.
And, even though my family members that weren't necessarily the best role models, we still had laughter, and just being able to play, have fun. And so I think it's super important. And also, just as we move into this next decade, I think that laughter, humor, smiling, kindness, these are going to be the things that really help to bring us together. We got enough stuff bringing us apart, but if we stop taking ourselves so seriously and understand that we are just a cell in this incredible body that we call Earth, and our job is to be a light, and we have the ability to light up any room we go into. And I've just literally yesterday ran an experiment, and it's like the holiday season around this time, and I was just smiling at people, whether it's in the store, just people driving by in the parking lot. boom, smiles. 9 times out of 10,
They smile
people
back.
smile back.
Yeah, man.
It's a responsive, reflexive thing. And then they can carry that on to the next person.
That's it, man.
So
I love
that's
that.
it for me.
I love that. So instead of saying you play too much,
Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here. And also make sure to subscribe to the Model Health Show.
Poverty, violence, depression, they're all connected by food, and no one's told the story. Not only do people not understand that it's all one problem, but they don't understand that there's elegant, simple solutions that can fix all of it.